Hi, second grade. If you are going in order by days, then today should be Monday, I think it's April 6th. And we are going to do our math page together today because some of it is review stuff, but you know, since we haven't been here, I want to make sure that you guys understand it. So if you don't have your math workbook, go get it now. And we are going to do page 268. We're going to do some of it together. I want you guys to be able to try some of it on your own, but I will review and then have you do some of it on your own too. Okay? All right, so the first one in number 1 says, I don't know if you can hear that. There's an Amber Alert going off right now. Crazy. Hopefully it's not one of you. Anyway, so the number 1 on page 268, do you remember we are borrowing with zeros? So my rule, hopefully you remember this, is the first thing we do is, well, I already said it's borrowing, so we know it's subtraction. But if I didn't say borrowing, the first thing we would do is look at this right here, and it says we are subtracting, okay? Then the next thing we do is we go to the ones place. Remember that? The ones, and I'll draw my houses. Here's the ones, tens, hundreds, okay? We're going to go to the ones, and we are going to look at the bottom number first. And if the bottom is bigger, we borrow. Remember that? Write it up here. Bottom, bigger, borrow. Okay? Is 8 bigger than 0? Is that more? Is 8 more than 0? I can't hear you. Yes, it is. Hopefully you said yes. Okay, so this 0 cannot give 8 anything, so we have to go next door to the tens. But there's another 0 there. Now what are we going to do? Now we have to go over to the hundreds. And can we borrow from the 7? Yes, we can. We cross out the 7. Don't forget to cross it out so it doesn't mess you up. And we take 1 away. When we take 1 away from 7, we get 6. And we bring that 1 over next door. Remember, we're always going next door. We're not skipping houses, okay? Going down the street to the neighbors. We go next door, okay? Now we have a 10 here, okay? But when we go back to the ones, this is still a 0. And the 8 can't take anything away from the 0. So the 0 goes next door again and says, hey, can I borrow from you now? And this guy right here in the tens house says, sure, I'm a 10 now. You can take 1 from me. So we cross out that 10, and taking 1 away makes it a 9. Make sure you're neat when you're doing your work, or else all these numbers and everything will get confusing to you. So we take 1 away, it's a 9, we bring the 1 over. Now, that is a 10. Now we can take 8 from 10, and that's 2. We can take 6 from 9, or 9 subtract 6 is 3. 6 subtract 3, or 6 minus 3 is 3. Okay? All right, we're going to go ahead and do the next one on your math page together because there's more zeros now. So it could be a little more confusing. And then I want you to do the last one yourself. Okay? So remember, we look here, and it's subtraction, so we know we're borrowing again. And then we look to this number right here. It's a 2. Okay? And then we look to the number on top, and that's a 0. Can 2 take anything away from 0? No. It's a 0. There's nothing there. So that means that 2 is bigger than 0. Bottom, bigger, borrow. So we got to borrow. And I'm going to make my houses again. Ones, tens, hundreds, and we have the thousands now. Okay? Don't forget, comma dog. All right, so we can't take 2 from 0. So 0 goes, remember we always go next door. This 0 doesn't jump all the way to the thousands house. That would hurt the tens and the hundreds feelings. You can't skip them. So 0 has to go next door to the tens. 10 says, I don't have anything. I'm a 0. Okay, so then we got to go here to the hundreds. And he says, I don't have anything either. I'm a 0. And then we go here to the thousands, to the 6. And the 6 says, yes, you can take 1 away from me, just 1. Okay, cross that out. Taking 1 away becomes a 5. And then we bring the 1 over next door. Do not bring that 1 all the way over to the ones. Okay, you can only bring it next door. Okay, 1 house at a time. All right, so now I'd like to go back and do the same thing over again. 2 can't take away from 0, so 0 goes next door. He doesn't have anything. 0 go, and then it goes next door again to the hundreds. That's a 10 now, so we can borrow from that. Cross that out, make it a 9. And feel free to pause anytime if I'm going too fast, okay? When we make that a 9, that means we're bringing the 1 over to the tens house, okay? Now, this 0 can borrow from the tens. We're going to cross the 10 out, borrow 1, and it's a 9. Bring the 1 over. Okay, now we can take 2 from 10, or 10 subtract 2, or 10 minus 2, and that's an 8. 9 minus 2 is a 7. 9 minus 2 again is a 7. And 5 minus 3 is 2. And we already have our comma dog there because that is thousands. So that number is 2,778. I want you to go ahead and do the third one on number 1 by yourself. All right, for number 2, I am going to give you numbers. Remember, this is practicing place value. And so you're just going to write down the number that I say in each A, B, C, and D, in each line, okay? So 2A is 16,607. If you need to hear it again, you can go ahead and pause. B, 32,459. 32,459. And C is $17.02. $17.02. And D is $980.16. $980.16. Okay? And you can stop this now and go back and go listen to the numbers again if you need to. I'm going to keep moving though, so this video is not super long. All right, number 3. I think that time is a little bit difficult for us, so I want to go over, we're going to do this part together. So number 3 says, write the times and set the clocks. Okay, the first clock, I have my lovely clock here. My first clock, I have to get it ready to where it's supposed to be, get my hands fixed on my clock, has this. Now I want to remind you guys that the little hand is the hour hand, the big hand right here is the minutes. When we count minutes on a clock, each number represents 5 minutes. Okay, so it's 5, 10, 15. Oh, I'm sorry. Sorry. at the top, that's 0 or o'clock. Okay, my fault. So this is o'clock. Okay, so it's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55. Now there is 60 minutes in an hour, but we don't say 60 when we write down the time. We write 00 or o'clock. Okay, so now we have to take a look at this. This is kind of a hard one. If you look at this, you might think, oh, that's 450, right? Because we just counted all the way around. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50. Okay, and it's so close to the 4, so you're thinking 450, right? Wrong. It is not 450. It is not at the 4 o'clock hour yet. When my minute hand gets all the way up here, that's when we will start the 4 o'clock hour. Okay? So my minute hand is before the 12, and it's so super close to the 4, but it's not on the 4 o'clock hour yet. So the answer that you would have for this one would be 3:50. And I'm going to write that down because if I can find my eraser, here it is. I'm going to write that down because some of us struggle with writing time still. And that's why we're reviewing. So when you write 3:50, you write the hour first, ... and the minutes. Okay, can you see that okay? There's a little bit of a glare. I'll write it down here. 3 o'clock, 3:50. Okay? Now remember, there's always going to be one or two numbers here. Okay? The most numbers you will ever have here is 2. You will always have 2 numbers in the minutes. Okay? So the hour side of our time can be 1 or 2 numbers, but the minute hand, the minute side of our time will always be 2 numbers. When will it be 2 numbers? Always, okay? All right, and just since I'm on that, the highest number you'll ever have here is a 12, okay? There's no time past 12 o'clock. 12 is the highest number that you'll have, okay? All right, so on the first one, I hope you wrote down 3:50. And then it says 1 hour earlier. Do you remember how to do 1 hour earlier? That means it already happened. If it's earlier, it already happened. So that means the hands on my clock have to go backwards. So I'm going to go 1 hour. Now, if it starts here on the 10, 1 hour means I'm going 1 time around the clock, 1 whole time. So wherever it starts is where it's going to end. Okay, so watch me. So we have 3:50, 1 hour earlier. If I move my hand backwards, that's 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. There's 60 minutes in an hour. 1 hour earlier. Okay, so this is what your clock should look like. You have to draw your hands on the next clock. Okay, so go ahead and do that. This is what it should look like. And then, if it's 1 hour earlier, you should have 2:50 as your next time. Okay? So 3:50, and then it has an arrow here like this on your paper saying 1 hour earlier. 1 hour earlier, I don't know if you can see those dots real good, is 2:50. Okay, if you need to pause and review that, go ahead. I'm going to move to the next one. Next one's hopefully a little bit easier for you. I have to get my clock ready here. And this is what the first clock says. Okay, this one's a little bit easier. Now we look at the hour hand, which is a small hand, okay? And it is between the 9 and 10, so that means it's still the 9 o'clock hour. Okay, and then our minute hand is over here. We count 5, 10, 15. Okay, so underneath your first clock, you should write, I'm going to erase this. Your first clock should have 9:15. Make those nice and big. Okay? And then it says 15 minutes later. There's an arrow and it says 15 minutes later. So later means we're moving our clock forward. Okay, so let's just count 15 minutes. Ready? 5, 10, 15. And there's your time. And hopefully you all know the time there. Go ahead, say it out loud so I can hear you. No, I'm just kidding, I can't hear you. But hopefully you said 9:30, okay? So your clock should look like this on your paper. And when you write 9:30, it should look like that, okay? So that was number 3. I feel pretty confident that you guys should be able to do 4, 5, and 6 by yourself. And that's it for today's lesson in math. And I will, I guess, talk to you tomorrow. Okay? Bye.